Okay, believe we're live. Hello, everybody. Hope you're doing great on this fine Wednesday. Um, New setup here, so hopefully it runs smoothly, but we'll get through it. Like a tennis match, everything's a challenge, but yeah, just like to welcome you all and let me know if you can hear me, see me. So an AV check. Uh, Trying to figure out can't even see who's in here. There we go. Mark Jordan, good. Thank you. All right. Chris Pollack, good to see you, man. Aaron, loving the book. Mark Jordan, great, everybody. Good to see you all here on the call. Thank you for joining us. And yeah, as you may have seen, this is something we trying to do on a regular basis. So, you know, in our OTI membership area, we do more regular calls for our members, and this is open to everybody. So, you know, if you've got friends maybe interested in, please share the link. It all helps. And yeah, with no delay, I would like to get started. I know James did a fantastic video last time talking about the inside-out swing path, and you know, today we're going to focus on use the kinetic chain. I'm going to focus on the forehand. You know, a lot of this applies to the serve, the backhand, is different planes of motion, different side of the body. But you know, want to get through this within a comfortable time period. And yeah, we'll get started. And the first thing too, you know, it's when we look at mechanics, they look at three things: the grip, the swing, and the body. So your grips are really important. You know, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. But you know, with the grip, that determines the angle of the racket face. So you know, having the right grip means that you don't have to make many adjustments. The wrong grip, you have to make a ton of adjustments. All right, so well, a ton. You may go make 2 or 3 extra adjustments, and then that makes the stroke inefficient. And then James covered the inside-out swing path. You know, hitting topspin, low to high, extended away from the body. So you always check that out. And today we're going to focus on the body. I thought just keeping in theme, we'll stick with the forehand. So without further ado, just a little bit, I'm pretty active here in the chat already. Just let me know where you're coming, or where you're tuning in from. Let me know if you'll be able to go outside later today. I'm supposed to go outside right after this. Unusually cold and windy for Florida. I'm in Clearwater, so we generally have a very mild winter, very nice winter, should I say. I often joke with people that we bear the summer so we can get rewarded in the winter. But yeah, a little tough day for tennis right now. But anyway, we've got to learn to play in everything. All right. Must be cold up there. We had a team call yesterday, and one of our members, one of our team members, she's in Chicago. It was like 23 degrees. So yeah, must be cold there. I think it's in the 50s here. But yeah, let's see here. Bibi, I'm a 16-year-old tennis player. How can I become a professional player? From India. All right, all the way from India. What's the time in India? Must be late there. I mean, what's like 12 hours ahead? 12 and a half hours? I think there's some half hour time zones there. Yeah, so, you know, real quick of that, and I'm going to get into it. You know, the thing is, like, I always like to preface this, you know, why I work on technique is you can execute strategy or tactics successfully under pressure. Also, the number one reason to change technique or to develop good fundamentals is to help reduce the occurrence of injury. Very important. We don't want to play in pain. And if we develop the correct fundamentals, we will reduce that likelihood. We cannot eliminate injury. It's just part of our sport. It's repetitive. But then also we want to give ourselves tactical options. You know, what happens, you know, if you don't develop good sound fundamentals, you hit a ceiling. And, you know, some people are happy to play at their current level. And you can be very good at your level, and you can maybe have some funky things going on. Some players break through and they're outliers. But if you want to improve, and particularly if you have pro aspirations, developing good sound fundamentals is critical, because at the end of the day, you want to be able to execute strategy and tactics, and you want to have tactical options. You don't want to be one-dimensional. We really are limited tactically. We're limited by our skill set. All right. Now, of course, there's movement, very important. There's the mental, emotional. All right. There's balance. the physical, which comprises the movement. But right now, we're going to talk about the technical. So ideally, you get into great position there, BD, and then you can execute here. So let's see here. So the real source is the stretch. Yes, that adds 10 to 20% of more racket head speed, the pre-stretch. I'm going to talk about that. So let's, without further ado, let's jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen here, and let's see. Okay, I'm going to share screen. I've just got to figure this out for a little bit, quickly on form. Okay, all right. So I believe I'm sharing this. I'm not able to check that, but I'm hoping everybody can see that. Tell you what, seems the first time I'm doing this, I'm going to exit out. Just let me know in the chat so I can see. Can you see that screen? It's black. Ooh, black screen. Okay. Let me see again. You can see it now? Okay, I see what you're saying. It's okay. Perfect. Okay. I would hate to have gone through that whole thing and yeah, not and have a black screen there and not see your comments. So I'm going to click on this one over here. I'll put this together for you all. Maybe I can pull this. Aha. Okay. There we go. So I'm just getting accustomed to this all. All right. I thought you were saying that your favorite player up on the screen is Carlos Alcaraz. I would love to be compared to Carlos Alcaraz. He's a fantastic player to emulate as a junior. Plays all court tennis, so much variation, goes forward. Yeah, I mean, I think from a tennis playing standpoint, excellent, person to model yourself on. So let's take a look here. So now I'm just going to play this through in slow motion. And, this is a split screen, so we get, two different perspectives. You'll see how I'm going to use my legs. I'm going to sit in the chair. I'm going to push from the ground up, rotate up to contact. My body stops through impact. The arm continues going. All right. Now I'm showing in a neutral stance. Here's an open stance example, I believe. Oops, not yet. But there's a lot of similarities. The difference is the weight transfer. Okay. So let's just go through this first. Let's go to the beginning here. So, the first thing, we're going to talk about the linkage system and how you want to, use the ground. You want to use the links, and also you want to use the stopping effect. All right. Now, Vic Braden broke it down so well, a couple of weeks ago. My wife and I, we put a Vic Braden forehand video in. It was in DVD. My DVD player was still working. I haven't used it in a long time. And it was just amazing just to go back through it and just the reminders and the reinforcements. It's nothing better than watching it multiple times. And, he said something which I've heard before and forgotten, but, he really broke it down very well. So I'm just going to talk about, the 4 links here. So, if we take a look here, from your ankle through to your knee, let's see how my drawing goes here. So from your ankle to your knee, that's joint 1. From your knee to your hip, we have link 2, should I say. From your hip through to your shoulder, we hit link 3. We don't count the head. And then the arm is link number 4. Okay. So you want to think of it in that order, because when you coil your body, when you load, you coil from the ground upwards. And then when you uncoil, you coil from the ground upwards. All right. So those are the links there, to break it into its simplest form. All right. Now, if I take this away here, now you'll see. So, I'm moving into position here. Just a couple of things. You see how my hands and feet are connected. As my foot goes out, I begin to prepare. Number one mistake I see at all the clinics we do a lot of live clinics, live lessons, video analysis for people to send it in, is late preparation. It starts with the first initial move. All right. If you are late at contact, everything I'm sharing with you, everything James shared with you last week, in my experience, maybe 1% of people can get everything else to work, get the kinetic chain and get extension, but it's forced. Okay. Most people, the ball plays them. They're late. They cannot uncoil the body. and they cannot extend and swing inside out. All right. So early preparation is key. Now, to get in position here, I'm setting up out over this outside leg. All right. Always say it's as if you can hit everything off an open stance, and then you choose your stance. Okay. Sometimes you move forward, but you don't do this, right? But you'll see here, I'm going to now choose to step into a neutral stance. Okay, so, or square stance, as some people refer to it. So now you'll see here, if I draw a line up from my toe, I have not stepped across. Now, that can happen, right? That can happen, but we want to eliminate the occurrence. A lot of people do this all the time, okay? So you'll see there, I'm not crossing my feet here. Some would argue I'm a little bit closer, I'm a little bit semi in a neutral, okay? This really allows the hips to clear, which is very important, all right? Now, if we continue to go through here, and you'll see, okay, let me clear this here. See how my body and racket start to go down together, all right? Now my racket, it drops into the slot position, the lowest part of the swing. I mean, well, let's see, probably goes a little bit lower than that, but it drops into the slot position. I still got to get into my slot. What happens from here, ideally the racket head's above the hand, we begin to push from the ground upwards, all right? From the ground upwards. So which link starts to rotate first? I feel like this is a trick question, or I'm leading the witness, all right? Okay, let's see. So we'll answer all these questions towards the end. So which link pushes first? And there's a little bit of a delay here, but if you want to put in the chat there. All right. Okay. Nobody wants to put their hand up. Link 1. Yes, Christopher Pollock. Good to see you, my man. Yep. So the first link. And, I've always taught people, drive your hip, but most importantly, drive your hip and core, this whole area like a corset, right? You don't want to just drive your hip because you're going to twist your lower back. However, what gets the hip moving is the first link. And, I had a gentleman come out, take a lesson, and he's a plays golf, and his golf instructor said, it start with the back toe here. And I thought it was really interesting because a lot of people kind of struggle to engage the hip. So it got me thinking, and that's where I learn from my students. And I think, we learn every single day, right? Every time we're on the court, we read a book, we watch tennis, we teach, we play. And, he was like, no, it starts from the back toe. And it sounds kind of weird, but I've been using that. It really helps. It's been helping a lot of players. So really, I'm pushing through that toe, and you'll see what happens next. Okay, the body will start to rise, okay, because I want to use the ground. And as it happens, you'll see how this knee is going to start to rotate forward here. Okay, so initiate through here. I'm actually pushing down here. Remember, when you push down the ground pushes back upon you, opposite forces, right? We want to use the physics. I'll get into staying low. I know there can be questions about that. There's certainly a time. Okay, so now watch the knee here. So now as I push, watch how that knee starts to turn forward. Okay, you see that? Now, what's going to happen is then going to bring the next link, all right, around. You'll see the hip start to move, and then we'll start to see the trunk start to move. Okay, now here's the key thing. I think there's a lot of confusion in tennis, and it's confusing when you watch tennis in regular speed. You don't slow it down, and you don't slow it down the right parts and look for certain things. It looks like there's a continuation, like they're hitting, and in my case, being right-handed, my entire right side just keeps rotating around. All right. But really what happens is a stopping effect. If you look at the best players in the world, go back to Federer, go back to Nadal, Djokovic. He opens a little earlier, but he still stops the links. Look at Senna, look at Alcaraz. They all do this, right? When they're looking to generate power, they've got time. You better believe these guys are lifting, all right? So what happens now we start to slow links down. So I slow this down, okay? And then this slows down or stops, and our contact, boom. The front leg ideally straightens at impact for maximum force. That's dependent on timing, ball height. What can happen now is the arm can continue accelerating forward. It translates to the target, right? So the body rotates, it stops, and then the swing translates to the target like a whip. Now, here's the thing. If you can use the linkage system, I lost my voice, you gain speed through the links, and we say more effortless power. There's a lot of talk about effortless power, but every time you stop a link or slow down a link, the preceding link, so if I slow down link 1, link 2 will accelerate approximately 1.5 times faster. So one stops and 2 keeps going. 2 stops, then 3 gains about 1.5 times the speed, and then that stops, and then the arm continues. So it's like this whipping effect. So everything just kind of catches up and then continues. A simple example, I move my hand like this, and if you can see me in the chat, if I stop my forearm right here, you see how my hand shoots forward. Same idea, okay? So we want to use that. And also when we use the lower body, okay, when we use the ground, we use our legs, and we rotate our hip and core, you know, it takes stress off the arm joints. Very important, okay? So this is very important that we do this. Often what happens, people don't rotate, they don't use the ground, and they overuse the upper body. Could cause injury to the arm, but also they over-rotate, okay? So see how I swing up to contact? If you just look from behind now, let's take a look at the rear view, okay? So come back again to the beginning. So you'll see, here's my hand, here's my racket tip, okay? I begin to, rotate forwards, upwards, and I shift my weight. And you'll see how as my hip starts to rotate, as I start to rotate, the racket then drops below the hand into the slot position. You see the knee will start to turn in. You'll see the hip, and then you'll see the trunk. I'll just give you a different perspective here. See that? There. See the swing path goes away from the body. Now everything stops here. Okay. Eyes the hit. Our friends at the Billie Jean King eye coach, Lenny, okay, is huge on this. Prevents mishits, but also it helps stop the rotation at the front side of the body, right? Now what can happen is the arm swing translates and extends to the target, long hitting zone, okay? So I have a greater margin for safety. I get true topspin. Also, the longer you send an object in a direction, the longer it can accelerate, the faster it's going to move. And then we get to this magic position here. You know, the hand's about shoulder height, and then the finish is inconsequential. You can see the extension. And in this case, I'm just catching over the shoulder because I'm demonstrating, right? Now you will see I'm a little bit around here at this point. You see with a lot of incoming speed, it's hard to completely stop everything, but just watch how still everything is through contact. All right. You also notice that my heel's off the ground here. I'm using the ground, okay? Now, another couple of questions come in, so I'm going to take a look at those. I also want to show you an open stance example. And, we'll talk about the pre-stretch because I know they came up. And then lastly, I'll just show you the, one example of when and why you may stay low. So let's just see here. Let's see. I think someone said Alker has his 10 forehands and Ben Shelton has 1. The thing is, here's the big thing. When you're working on mechanics, you want to think about this. If you have you're working on your foundation, your fundamentals, you're working on your neutral rally ball, whether it be a forehand or a backhand. Okay, so your swing shape is such. If you look at the screen, whoopsie, it's more like circular this way. Okay, Now, if you're looking to defend, then you're going to get below the ball more and you're going to swing at a steeper angle. If you're looking to attack, you still get below contact. You can be further into the court, showing your take back. Maybe not get as low and you maybe extend a little bit more. Okay. Now, just some granular numbers. The study is done by Dr. Bruce Elliott, Reed Crispo. They're talking about the angle of the swing, right? So, when you I had this written down for a second here. Flat means more offensive, right? It's still low to high. There's still some topspin. It's approximately a 25 to 30-degree angle. Okay, topspin, I would say at neutral. You got that 35 to 45, and then your lob, your defensive shot, 50 to 70. All right. So the point is that right now when you go work on this, work on your neutral rally ball. If you have good fundamentals, then you can adjust the swing shape, right? How low you get the hand below the racket below contact, and how much you extend, the steepness of that slope. Okay, so that's where you see a variety of different shots. And pros, they play within a range of fundamental correctness, but they make adaptations to the swing, and they play with improvisation, but they play within a certain range of fundamentals. This is the key thing, all right? Now, let's go a little bit further on. Let's take a look at, actually, I want to show you something too. There's a lot of this going on where, and I think, maybe it's well-intentioned. Look, coaches are telling people to bring this foot all the way around and even face that way at the end. The problem is the court's this way and the tennis court's less than 20 degrees wide. You can't go to the net. The best players in the world figure this out. I think you want to learn to stop the rotation. And then when you release your swing, your foot will probably, when you release your body, your foot probably comes around here. The more speed you have coming in, the further it may land in front. But I don't think this should be forced, but that's my personal opinion, all right? Okay. If you look at Federer, I've got videos of Federer. I can't post it here. Agassi, Burditch, finishing just like this in a warm-up, catching the racket up on the toe, all these different things, all right? These different checkpoints. So I'll come back to them. Now, so you see my foot there. Now I'm ready to recover for the next shot. Now, here's an open stance example. That was filmed about 10 years ago. I was 10 years younger. Okay. So you see here, I'm setting up. Now, from this position, I could, if I wanted to, take a step forward, neutral, or, play a little semi-open if I wanted to. But I'm a little bit wider. Okay. So I need to recover more towards the middle. I'm more defensive. So I'm going to drive my weight upwards now off this leg. Okay. When you play neutral, your weight's driving more forwards and upwards. So it's actually preferred. You see, Senna has a lot of balls in the neutral stance. So it's interesting to see, right? Everyone's like modern game, open, open, open. Now Senna's cracking the ball in the neutral stance. So you'll see here, now just watch. We got link 1. We got link 2, 3, and then 4. And you'll just see. So now my weight's shifting upwards. See, my knee starts to turn in. The hard part about this opens is not over-rotating. Okay, that's the hard part. And then you see my knee, my hip, my shoulder. Now watch how the body stops. I'm missing some frames, unfortunately. And the arm keeps going. See the extension there? Now, what I like to teach people, mortals, is that we want to land on that foot. See, I'm still with the shot, I would say. All right. Then once that foot lands, the ball's gone. I mean, look where my swing is. Then I land on this foot here. And now my hips are kind of faced this way. I can push off this foot to recover. Okay. Towards the center will bisect the angle. I'm not sure. I think I'll take a crossover step here. Should do. Crossover to get back for the next shot. Okay, so let's see here. So a couple of things for Dario. Hey, should you straighten up on the impact or try to move forward and lower? It depends on the situation, but I would say fundamentally your leg should your in my case being right-handed. Okay, let me see here if I can bring this up. In my case being right-handed, ideally I want this front leg to straighten at contact because then I get the full impact into the shot. Okay, we see some variations out there. A lot of it is time. These players don't have time. And remember this, you get half your speed from the incoming ball, and the ball comes in harder. You can reflect that. If you're looking to generate force and you're looking to add more, well, you really got to use the ground and use the body segments, right? Your arms got to be loose. Okay, see that straightens right there. Now, if you look here in the open stance, what's to the right side? There. So now this straightens. This side stopping. So I would just say fundamentally yes, and the situations where maybe not, and I'll talk about one of them later. Let's see. I like to feel easy power, but topspin to control the power is hard. Well, the whole idea behind topspin, all right, is that when you accelerate, you actually gain margin, all right? So if otherwise you're calculating. So you'll see here, topspin. So let's just mark contact here. Okay, so here's my contact point. So I'm getting my racket head below that. Okay, as I swing to contact, what happens? It gets the ball to rotate like this. Okay, imagine facing the court 6 to 12 in the clock face. When the ball rotates with topspin, what happens? The Magnuson effect create a low pressure on the top of the ball. So now what happens is air pressure comes down and wants to press down the ball. Now the ball is going to drop because of gravity, but because the ball's rotating this way, it's pressing down the ball. So you're actually gaining control. All right. And the faster you swing, and the key fast, because your arm is loose, the more spin you generate, the more margin you create. All right. So, you actually want both. And there are times, of course, where you would, change the swing angle, and that you may get a little less spin, you get more penetration, but you adjust the height of over the net to adjust for the shorter court and the power. The question. I can create tons of tops in the medium racket speed more than some. Okay, maybe I misread that. Racket head speed. Okay, here we go. Sorry, back to the question. Not sure if steepness affects topspin. Instead, it affects shape. It affects both, really. Okay, the more you swing up, the more spin. Okay, the more spin. You still have spin, less spin, but also that gives you more lift. There's friction, grabbing effect. Okay, I'll just stick with the body a little bit here. I can create tons of tops with a medium racket head speed more than some. Yeah, you probably get in the racket face vertical, close to it. When should I accelerate? Real quick, that's an important one. So I'll go through that, and then we'll look at some other things. So you'll see here, this is my initial turn, my preparation. Now Federer and Adele, through the unit turn, at the end of the unit turn, approximately 5 miles an hour. Okay, it's a two-part swing, preparation. Okay, then what would happen? They began the gravity drop. That's really, to me, that's the beginning of your swing. A lot of people try to time the swing from here. It's difficult to do. With speed, you don't see it, right? It looks like one. At the bottom of the swing, they're about 18 miles an hour. Okay, that's gravity. It's 2.2 times the square root of the height of the drop. I'm getting very technical here, but they're about 18 miles an hour. Then what happens is about that time, so we've got the gravity, all right, like a swing set, like a pendulum. We've loaded the body. We've pre-stretched the muscles, we'll talk about. And then what happens, we begin to uncoil. So we carry the momentum, and then our body starts to accelerate. So now we start to speed up. We start to accelerate up through here. And ideally, we're going to reach max velocity at contact. And you see great players. It's like they hit the ball. You just see this little extra burst of energy. All right. So on the way up here, using your body to really continue the effortless gravity drop that you've created through gravity, and then you're looking to continue that and accelerate it with your body. And your arm is just, it's a lever, all right? It's barely doing anything with form, all right? And then what happened here at contact, there were approximately 78 miles an hour at the swing. I mean, these numbers may have gone up. This was an older study Vic Braden did. And then what happens, you continue to extend, you break, and then you have to dissipate the energy somewhere. So then it just continues until it does come to a stop. It's not forced around your shoulder. James did inside out. You swing inside out, you accelerate away from the body, and then it whips back around because of your shoulder structure. All right, so now let's go. Let's talk about the pre-stretch, because actually this is a pretty good example here. Okay, I think the open stance gives a good one. And according to Bruce Elliott, he's a biomechanist out of Southern Australia, out of Australia. I'm just going to say, and in their book, it was saying it helps accelerate 10 to 20%. All right, so what happens is a couple of things. But if you take a look at this, turning the shoulder, the trunk past the hips, right? So beyond the hips, when you do that, so in other words, here's the hip line, here's the trunk, my back's towards the opponent. It places these muscles across the trunk on stretch, like an elastic band. You stretch the muscles, it stores energy, and you got to be careful. You can't hold it too long because you lose energy, and you release and it fires back. And it gets everything accelerating faster. All right. Now they say that to their studies, how far you turn your shoulders past your hips on the forehand, it's approximately, they had you 13 degrees beyond that. All right. So I guess past the baseline. Okay. According to their studies that they did. Right. Backhands were actually more. One-handed was more, funny enough. Now, as we go on here, so that was the pre-stretch, right? Oops, sorry, I should probably go through that slowly. So now, see, I turn the shoulders past the hips, and now I get that added benefit. So as I rotate, see, now I see my hips come through, my shoulders delayed, and then this whips this way, okay? And that pulls it through quicker. And you're on this pre-stretch happening, in the arm, with the late-in concept, the lag, right? But that's the basic premise there. Very important, though. I think for as you're looking to boost performance, you want to try to get that. It's called hip dissociation, or shoulder dissociation. Your shoulders turn beyond the hip line, all right? So you can get that trunk stretch. Now, another very important thing is your reactive break, because you have to stop the rotation. Now, I need a 45-degree angle. This also just shows you I'm in movement here, right? But we'll slow it down. Look at the left arm, all right? And we'll see how that stops. Often often undertaught, but tennis is so complex as it is, but it's something you really want to pay attention to here. Okay, so you see, this is a running forehand, right? So I prepare, I take cross load. You can just see here, whoopsie. Okay, you can see there's the hip line, here's the shoulder line. Okay, there and thereabouts. Okay, you can see there's a stretch right here. Okay, look at the left arm's extended, helps with spacing, helps with turn. Now it has to clear as I rotate. Okay, now the arm weighs, depends on the person, 10, 14 pounds. Okay, you don't feel it. It clears, but then look what happens at contact. Now I'm going to be moving through space, but that arm remains the same. Allows me to extend, look at the shoulders, look at the head. That way I can make the shot. Okay, and this is reverse situational. Got to release the swing somewhere. But watch how the body rotates the contact. This is running forehand, right? Now watch the chest, the head, the arm. Okay, I'll take those lines away because I'm moving. Only thing really moving is the arm. all right? But you see how this reactive brake stops the body rotating because I get the advantage of the whipping effect. Okay, very important that we use it. Now, when you're learning this, you catch the racket. Remember, if you remember back to the first one, I was catching the racket. I'm unable to do it right here. But the catching has now trained me what to do with this arm, all right? So let's go back to that first one. You'll just see the catching. All right, you look at a lot of pros, you'll see them warm up. Even Serena Williams, she would even catch the racket in matches, all right? So, okay, so, that's pretty much concludes everything. I'm going to look at a few questions before we head out. Let me see where I am. Okay, there I am. Going to pull this back over. Okay. So, I'll probably stay on for just a few more minutes. I'll answer some of the questions. Um, oh, there was something I meant to talk about staying low. So, I'll look at a few questions. I'll talk about staying low, one situation, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay. So, um, Quanting, I like this. I agree. I think over rotation is more of a side effect than a cause. It's where your power source is. Maybe I don't agree completely. Overtake. The thing is that the key thing is you got to ask yourself, when does the body stops at contact? Okay, and then when does it then release? There's a release point. And the other question is that a forced move or is that a result of the force? Okay. Key thing, you watch pros. Are you copying the fundamental or are you copying the force they're under? I mean, just to put in perspective, when they use wooden rackets at the highest elite level, players had 4 seconds between each consecutive hit. Meaning, if I hit the ball to you, my opponent, I had 4 seconds before I hit the ball the next time. Now it's down to 2.2 seconds on the men's tour, approximately 2.5 in the ladies' tour. You have like 1 second to recover, 1 second to respond. So it's happening so fast, all right? And they're swinging at such extreme forces. They can't stop it completely. But the thing is, they stop the rotation first through contact, the most important part of the swing, and then release and recover. And a lot of people are copying that release, but they miss what's happening through contact. They miss the slowing down and they miss the stopping, right? And that can really, really mess up your forehand in this case. Because so goes your body, so goes your swing. You have the wrong spin. You're swinging, 90 degrees in a court that's 19 degrees, all right? Shoulder socket has to rise, not pull. So you actually get more power, as I explained, when you stop links, okay? And you use the ground. I mean, just look at Senna, look at Alcaraz. I mean, yeah, and I'll show you times that they're going to stay low, but you'll see they're lifting. You'll see they're rotating up. You'll see they're stopping at contact. It's all right there. It's all right there. Your racket's a trampoline. You use the reflective pace from your opponent. Get pace from your opponent and you use the ground, you use your body, all right? And then you use the stopping effect so you can get that whipping effect. See what else here? Yeah, I have a lot of power but no spin. That's where, yeah. So I always like to teach, little like showing rotation, teaching topspin, and then we really start to dive into this kind of stuff, right? Because you want to have the control first. Okay, consistency, can I get it in? Can I direct it? Can I direct it with depth? Now I gotta have spin, then I get power. And if you do all those things up to that point, you will have power. All right. Your thoughts on the role of always problematic wrist action. You got to keep the wrist laid back. The wrist doesn't do this, doesn't flex. I mean, maybe towards the end, we see some shoulder, like internal rotation and forward pronation at the very top of the swing after the extension. We connect, we extend, hand gets shoulder height, then we release. That's where you see that release point. But you see the wrist is kind of mainly laid back. Now, Federer kind of released a little bit this way, but you got to keep the wrist laid back, all right? The moment you let the racket tip fly ahead of your hand, you actually lose minimal potential. It's the trampoline effect of your racket. You see great players have the wrist laid back because they also use the trampoline effect. We've got to use our racket technology. All right, Chris, to increase your topspin, have the racket contact below the ball and travel up the path of the steep C case. That's kind of a myth, or it is a myth, because the ball's on the racket face for 3 to 6 milliseconds. So I mean, it literally it goes in here, the strings compress, and the ball leaves. Where you get in the topspin, it's the snapback. The strings move like this, and that's where the new strings, they have faster snapback. If you take like a synthetic gut string or gut, as they get older, you pull the string and they get stuck, right? But if you take poly, you pull the string, that pop back, and that's what's helping the spin add more spin. But it's the action of the racket going from low to high, inside out through contact, and then that's this friction, and then that gets the ball to rotate. As I get under, I get more lift, and that gets shape. So the less get under, the less shape I get, and less height, less depth, but also less penetration. Sorry, I hope I didn't lose anybody here. Yeah. So let's see here. So quanting, I think I'm getting more spin from my forearm stretch and less, and not from steepness. What's happening is everything is still a contact. All right. Everything is still a contact. Um, you know, if you look at just go look at Federer, you look at Alcaraz, look at these guys. Um, it's everything is still, because if you start to play the wrist action, the ball spins in the wrong axis. All right. Nadal played a little bit with it. Sometimes you got that banana shape. All right. But you'll just see here. I don't know if I got enough frames here. I mean, this is the natural shape of the swing. The racket heads below the hand. As I lift up, it's a circle. It then becomes closer to vertical. It then gets above the hand. I mean, there's 3 dimensions to your swing. There's length, that's extension. There's height, low to high, and then there's width. All right. Okay, so last thing I wanted to show you was, staying down, staying low. We hear that a lot of times. I think also, I was thinking about it, why people tell people stay low is because they don't adjust the size of the take back. That could be another great class, how that helps your game. So they have to slow down. So they take away the ground force, right, to reduce speed. Well, shorten the take back, use the ground, use the kinetic chain, take stress off the arm. Okay. Now, over here, oops. Okay, I got to go back to Caleb. Okay. Kind of new to this. Why can't I go back? Okay, here we go. So, just watch Alcaraz, and you'll see a lot of this. All right. I just had a backing example here with Caleb. Remember, we get half us pace from our opponent. So, a lot of times you'll see, especially, watching Alcaraz, center, I mean, these top players, the opponent forces them to the corner. The ball's deep, it's low. They move along the baseline. They're not giving up ground, right? These guys are amazing athletes. Okay. And they get the pace from the opponent, plus they stuck in this position here. I mean, they're in a really bad position. Okay. So they got to recover back. So if they lift, it takes time to lift, plus their momentum is going to keep taking them this way. So it's going to take more time to recover. So they go in with this. They get into an open stance position. Okay. And they do what we call a low spin move. You see, Caleb's going to, try to rotate from the ground up and keep his chest still through contact. So watch the feet now. Watch his upper body. You see his head's down. Now, ball's gone. Look at the travel. Now he begins to recover. He should take a crossover step. Let's see if he does that there. Not. That's something we're working on, right? Crossover step. But that's where you're going to see it. And watch the Australian Open, all right? But it's situational, all right? So I'm going to wrap it up over here. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, well, then you would lift. Use the ground, all right? So, this is happening at a very high level. So we're going to wrap it up here. We're going to try to do these calls as much as possible every Wednesday. I guess this time, 11 o'clock Eastern. Different topics. You can tune in, let your friends know. We offer, remote coaching. You can, send in videos. If you want information, you can email us on that. We also have live clinics coming up. We also do these 5-day events. So lots of ways that we can help you remotely, working online, also live in person. So thank you everybody for tuning in. And yeah, look forward to catching you next time. I think you got Florian coming up next week. And then I guess I'll be on the schedule. Next week, I'll be working. Actually, I won't be working next week with um, the members because I'll be traveling to Tucson for a clinic. So I'll be seeing a couple of you there, and I look forward to it. All right. One question: the review is one every month or every 2 months, depends on the program. Premium, you can get one every month. If it's the basic, you get one every 2 months. All right. All right, everybody. Take care. Good to see you on here. Pleasure, Chris, Mark. Take care, everybody. Okay. Bye bye.